Alright, welcome back to the channel. We are about to put in a lovely fox into our winter scene. We've done the snowy owl. I've added my logo in there. We added some skiers and a groundhog already. But one last thing to finish this part up. Okay, so we have a fox here. I just want to briefly explain what I was doing to measure it out. So this is a reference image I have gotten with permission from a photographer, and basically it has equal proportions from the tip of its ear to the bottom of its leg here as its whole body. And then about a third of that goes on to be the tail. 2/3 of that is the tail. So anyway, basically I looked on the wall and I decided that about a foot in height looked good for this space. So then I marked it and then I measured a foot to get the back end of the body and 2/3 a foot. So about 9 inches to get the end of the tail. And then I've basically just kind of measured out the proportions from there and done a really loose sketch with chalk. So the rest of the body is pretty much going to be this fox, and then for its head I kind of wanted it to turn and be looking a little bit towards us. So I liked the idea of using this face where it's got a little bit more light in its eye and stuff. So we're going to be tweaking the sketch to kind of turn its head a little bit as we paint. Yeah, so that's the plan, and we're gonna go and get into the time lapse now.
All right, so here I am starting to block in colors. I really enjoyed painting the fox because it had been a bit since I got to use color in the mural, painting a lot of trees and the bark and snow. So this was super fun to do, and there's a bit of interesting lighting because it was a cloudy, sunny day. So when the sun peeks out, it gets really bright for a second, but mostly cloudy. So I'm using a really old brush that's really splayed out, just trying to get the color on. We're getting different oranges and reds that I'm mixing really quick with some brown, just to try and get a feel for what color the fox is going to be. And we're also getting, different gray tones, and we're trying to keep it pretty dark so we can go and add some of the fur details as highlights below. And you can see I'm recording with my phone, and we'll show you that footage now.
All right, so we are working on our fox here. We're getting its bum nice and fluffy. So I'm really struggling with concrete and fur. I mean, this is a few different animals I've painted in concrete now, but it's still a big challenge to try and get any sort of fur texture. But basically all we're gonna do is our best. So I'm just putting a tiny bit of paint on my brush, and it's, I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty dry. So anyway, and then coming over here, and we're just trying to very lightly do some of the fur textures so that it's not super over blended. But I mean, it's on concrete, it's only working so well. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of what we're doing on the fox's body. And yeah. So we go get some more of this darker color here. And then try to get this top edge looking a little better. There's a little, there we go. Gotta fill those areas in with paint. Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of, sort of looking like fur. I don't know, you can let me know in the comments if you think so. But yeah, the most important thing for a mural anyway is going to be the color. So that's kind of the most thing that we're focusing on when we're doing this blending. Yeah, so we are going to keep painting away here in real time for a little bit more. And I'm going to brainstorm things to say. Okay, so we're gonna add a little bit more of a yellow tone up at the top edge. And the reason I picked a fox is because they are such a warm animal to contrast the kind of coldness that you find in winter. And I thought that that was really kind of fun juxtaposition there. And additionally, who doesn't love a good fox? They're really, really cute. That's kind of a theoretical question. We have a lot of farmers in this area. But, you know, we are going to add some of this nice warmer color at the bottom. I always say warmer and cooler colors when I'm painting like ocean backgrounds to kind of explain how to give it like a 3D effect. So it's kind of a funny habit because obviously the entire fox is a warmer color. But yeah, so there's kind of like a dark patch in its back there. So we'll try and keep that in. Yeah. And then basically it goes to a little white patch here, and then we're into its leg. So because I have a darker color kind of on my brush, we're gonna go ahead and paint its leg with some of this brown with a little bit of red.
One interesting thing is that I don't really clean my brushes when I'm doing murals. I kind of just, you know, if it's within the same realm of a color, I kind of just paint over top of it with the same brush. So I actually pretty much painted this entire fox with this one single brush.
It's always kind of funny to me to record in real time me painting. It's hard to hold the camera steady and focus on painting at the same time. But we are expanding our YouTube prowess here, and I always get requests for real-time footage, so hopefully this is helpful in mix with the time-lapse footage. Also fun to note for, you know, any artist who is hoping to one day start a family, I am sitting cross-legged on the sidewalk on a garden mat, and we are 7 months pregnant, and the little guy is wiggling intensely. He's not super thrilled at being so squished, and I kind of feel a little ill from it. But we are so close to getting this mural wrapped up. Okay, so now that that's all kind of blocked in, we're gonna go in and add some of those warmer colors, lighter colors to its leg here. Get some of those designs peeking through. It's kind of good for that edge. Yeah, people also ask me what brushes I use for muraling. I don't use anything really specific. This is just like a really old brush from my studio. It's covered in paint, so I can't even tell you what it is, but it's not got a really good tip on it. It's just really kind of like a splayed brush. And yeah, and it seems to work pretty well for this kind of thing. So, I think the leg goes like that a bit more. Some dark brown for this back leg. Yeah, this brush is kind of frustrating because I can't really do detailed work with it. Like it's almost too old and splayed for like doing outlines and stuff like this. But I might just have to go and do some touch-ups and accept that defeat. But that's fine. Because it goes a bit lower too. Alright, we'll go back to the time lapse.
Yeah, so I wanted to show a lot of the real-time footage because just to get a bit more accurate of the pace. This fox did take me probably a good 3-4 hours to paint and get on the wall here, which seems like a lot, but every bit of this mural really adds up over the whole time scale of the project. But yeah, we're adding in the blocking for the very fluffy tail, and when I was doing the tail, I realized that I had kind of incorrectly painted the legs, so we kind of added white and moved everything a little bit. But yeah, we're adding all that fluffy detail.
Okay, we are going to cut in back with some live footage again here. You may have saw on the time lapse, I had went way too far down with its legs and its tail. I caught it before I did the tail, but yeah, this bottom line that I measured, that was the 1 foot kind of reference point. When I checked back at the image, there's obviously a bit of a gap there. So I was like wondering why the proportions of these looked so silly. And that was why. So I kind of mixed up a gray color similar to it, and it turned a little bit of orange from the chalk. Oh well. But yeah, so we cut that up a little bit, and now we are working on the tail.
So it's so fun adding the final highlights and trying to get that different fluffy feel on concrete. So because I would kind of add highlights in one color, but it would just catch the top bit of the concrete. So then when I'm trying to add another highlight in just a few areas on that, it entirely kind of was erasing what was behind it. So it kind of took a lot of playing around with to get the proper amount of, you know, wispy highlights of certain colors without it completely washing out all the detail that I had built up. So it was really interesting to paint this type of fluffier fur on the concrete. And I keep talking about the concrete a lot, but it was really a huge learning challenge for me to paint on the surface, and I learned a lot, and it was a great opportunity and turned out great. So now we just have the face left, and we're gonna jump into a time lapse of it next. So this one is getting kind of later in the evening, so the lighting was not quite as bright to really capture all the details on the camera. But in what you can see here, we are working in on the fluffy ears and trying to get some of the front chest of the fox as well really fluffy. So we're trying to get all of those further away aspects, and then we're going to come in and do the eyes and nose in really bright colors to try and make it even warmer than the rest of the fox is in its warm color tones, and be able to really see the fox coming through, get that 3D effect. So to get the really good glint in its eyes, we kind of went all white, and then I added the pupils back in. Then we're gonna go and add all the different colors to try and get the eyes. So for this, I did actually switch to a second brush. I think I said I painted the whole thing with one brush, but I actually used a liner brush to get the face details. This is kind of just easier because it's a tiny little brush and I can get into the cement crevices. But yeah, and we're just finishing up the face highlights here in this area. It's got a nice smoky gray tone underneath its chin and lots of glints on its nose. This was a fun area of the fox to glint. At this point, you can see I'm using the cloth and spray bottle to remove a lot of the chalk outline, just to get that clean edge that I can now touch up. And we're going in and adding some final details with the liner brush. So the whiskers are the final little detail here, and you get that last few different highlights. And this is basically it for the fox. So we're gonna show it with a slightly better angle here. So this is what it looks like. And we can zoom out and you can see the entire finished, complete winter section of our mural. And this is going to conclude our video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the video next week. We'll see you soon.